I hope you all find me again. I'm going to do a quick tweet to let everyone know that we're back. It's back. Livestream is back. And I can tell already from just watching this that we should be good now. Okay. Livestream is restarted. Show this thread. Okay. All right, so sent that tweet out. Hopefully you all find me. If not, you'll find me on the replay. Sorry, this is less than ideal. You're seeing my microphone, which is actually an audio recorder I also use as my microphone, because you can do that. And I hope all this looks good and sounds good. And as you find me, hey, Mr. Me, thank you for finding me. Oh my God. This is the thing. I swear I tested everything. I was like, I'm testing the mic. I'm gonna test the new camera. I'm gonna make sure I have this all working before I go live. And it all went kablooey. I think. And my computer crashed. My computer crashed, so I had to reboot the whole system. So I don't know. Maybe so I'm trying to decide where best to put my coffee cup. Mug, my Contigo coffee mug that I love. Anyway, I'm trying to gosh. Welcome, Kathleen. Looks like third time's the charm. That's right, third time's the charm. I don't know if some bad mojo is being sent my way this morning, because we're gonna dig into Ravelry and everything that's gone on there. But you know what? I'm not giving up. We're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna have my live stream, because I missed this last weekend. I missed having live stream. I love doing live stream. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I enjoy doing it. So, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the third attempt at Knit Tea Live this morning, the last Sunday of March. If you have not already, please consider giving this video a thumbs up, whether you're watching it live or on the replay. If you're watching on the replay, you can still take part in the conversation and comment in the comment section on anything you hear today. We've got a big... I'm kind of starting a little bit fresh, as if the other live streams didn't occur, because we got a big live stream today, and I'm way behind schedule, but we got a lot to get through. So if you have to leave partway through and come back to watch the replay later, that's fine. But today we are going to talk about Ravelry, the month's worth of stuff that happened with Ravelry this week, that happened in 3 days. We're going to talk about the end of Classic Rav, because that is ending March 31st. And I am going to still do a pattern spotlight, because I didn't have a Knit Tea Live last week, and there have been a number of new patterns that I want to share with you from designers who are offering to sell their work off Rav for those who can no longer be on the site. So thank you, Evie. Thank you for making your way back here. Okay, I can't put the coffee mug there because that's where the chat box is. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, as I said, when I first started about this live stream, I always knew that it was going to Ravelry would be a major topic in it. I didn't know how major of a topic it was going to be, but I knew it would be a big topic because March 31st is the end of Classic Ravelry. The powers that be at Ravelry have decided in their infinite wisdom that they have fixed their problems. If they even believe there was problems, we'll get into that. But whatever problems people thought there might be with new Rav, they believe they fixed that with Herdwick. And they announced 6 months ago that March 31st was going to be the end of Classic Ravelry. How many people who have been relying on Classic Rav are aware that that is about to go bye-bye? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is on, let's see, March 31st is a Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is on Thursday when people find out that Classic Rav is no longer available to them. Hello, UF. Welcome, welcome. Glad you found me. Glad you found this. So yeah, we're going to, so I always plan to talk about Classic Rav. I have long debated if I wanted to do like a real deep dive on Ravelry in 2020. And I always ended up kind of deciding not to, because I felt like, do we really need to keep retreading this? I mean, I still want to obviously talk about it when it's appropriate, but did I need to do a dedicated video on it? And then all this stuff happened this weekend, and I was like, I can't shoot a video fast enough to cover everything. So we're going to just do the live stream. We're going to do it live and talk about what has happened. So what happened this week with Ravelry? Well, what happened? Okay, so the New Yorker did an article. Actually, I should have, excuse me, I'm going to bring this up on my computer as I talk, because the headline, if you just read the headline of the New Yorker article, you would not guess that it was going to discuss at all the Ravelry accessibility issues. Yeah. Evie just said, I've seen a lot of people surprised when I told them it was going away. Yep. There's a lot of people. I've been on Facebook groups, and whenever Ravelry comes up and someone says, yeah, I haven't been able to use it, they're like, well, you can use Classic Rav. And this past week, I'm like, it's going away. And people are like, wait, what? I didn't know that. Oh, well. The thing is that I always have to remind myself with all of this is that of the 9 million members of Ravelry and about 1 million active users, the vast majority of them really are very unaware of these issues going on with Ravelry, because most knitters, crocheters, fiber people who have been on Ravelry are casual hobbyists. Like, they're not necessarily steeped in this online world the way many of us who have connected over Twitter and on YouTube and Instagram and what have you, we're like steeped in this. A lot of people aren't. And that's just is what it is. It's not a judgment of any kind. It's just people don't know. So the New Yorker, though, this past week had an article go up, and its headline was How Politics Tested Ravelry and the Crafting Community. The vast majority of the article, it's a matter of opinion whether you think it's well written or not. I don't think it's well written, but the article was written actually by a Ravelrer and a knitter, and the article is mostly about controversies with Ravelry around 2009, when there was a very conservative group called The Bunker that got kicked off of Ravelry, and that's a whole controversy I've been kind of like looking into. It's kind of unpleasant. Not like fun unpleasant, just sort of like ew. But that gets covered in the New Yorker article. And then, of course, 2019, when Ravelry banned MAGA conversation and patterns from the website. So most of the article is about that. Okay? And that makes sense considering the headline. However, about the last 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe 5 paragraphs of the article, it touches on, and I use that term touch for a reason, because it's so superficial. But anyway, it touches on the 2020 controversies with Ravelry around accessibility and New Rav, people reporting that New Rav has triggered for them migraines, vertigo, headache, and of course, a couple of seizures. At least a few seizures were reported. And how the New Yorker covered that story, it leaves a lot to be desired. But it was very telling at the same time, because New Yorker actually interviewed Jessica and Cassidy. And the truth is, Jessica and Cassidy, they don't do a lot of interviews. They don't do a lot of press. They say as much in the article. That my read on it when I read the article was that they pretty much just kind of like to stay in their world, in their little fiber world. And I think that's I think that in and of itself says something. But they did agree to do this interview with the New Yorker. And the article definitely, in my opinion, approaches the issues around accessibility and new Rav from their perspective. To give you sort of a perspective, for lack, couldn't think of another word, perspective on why I say this is when the article talks about the controversies around politics and Ravelry, they dedicate a large portion of the article to one story of a conservative person who was kicked off of Ravelry and their feelings about it and how they responded to it. It is a long, it covers 2 or 3 paragraphs, if I recall correctly, and I might not have that right, but it is a large portion of the article and certainly gives plenty of air and space to people who are mad at Ravelry because they feel as though Ravelry has discriminated against them for being Trumpers and not because Trumpism is white supremacy and incited an insurrection. But anyway, that's not really what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about accessibility. But weirdly, the two things are kind of connected. But anyway, then you get to the part of accessibility, which is about, I have from the article about 7 screenshots. One of those screenshots, has one quote from one person saying, I had a migraine and several of my close friends had a migraine. That's not an exact quote, I'm summarizing. I will bring up the screenshots in a bit. But that's it. Everything else in the article about Ravelry and accessibility is one person who does work on website accessibility, and all he has to say really in the article, I don't know if he said more, but in the article he said, well, Ravelry's no worse than most other sites. Excuse me. The most obvious thing is they don't have enough alt tags, alt text. And if you don't know what that is, alt text is for people who are visually impaired often will use a screen reader. And alt text gives descriptions of images on websites that can then be read to people who are using screen readers. So, and Ravelry has not done a very good job with that. Most people don't do I don't do a good job. I fully admit I don't do a good job remembering to do alt text. I'm trying to be better at it. But anyway, that's what alt text is about. That's all he has to say. And then everything else in the article is Jessica and Cassidy. So clearly the article in terms of Ravelry and accessibility is skewed towards Jessica and Cassidy and Ravelry's position on the issue. And the problem with that is we know from Twitter, Tanya Richter, who's on Twitter, and after the live stream is over, I will put a link down in the description box for her Twitter so you can read some of this on for yourself. But she has had a 6-month migraine that she believes was triggered by Ravelry, New Rav. The New Yorker writer who did this article, she interviewed Tanya, and she appears nowhere in the article. Nowhere. She's not mentioned. She's not referenced. Nothing. So to say that people were kind of pissed off about the New Yorker article is being kind. Because it was bad. Let me see if I can bring some of this up. Okay. Oh shoot, is this not gonna work? No, I'm okay. So let me bring up. So this is how the New Yorker article starts on the Ravelry situation. Because I think it is teeing up something that Jessica will state later about why she thinks people were blaming New Rav for their migraines and eye strain and vertigo and seizures. Let's see, desktop share. This is okay. Oh, let's see. Move this. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to read this. If I can get to the right. Yeah. It was mid-June, about 3 months into the pandemic, and 3 weeks after the killing of George Floyd. The redesign, meant to lift the spirits of its users and improve the low vision and mobile user experience, was not well received at all. Now, this is the thing about that, which is, why would the article bring in that sort of context about the pandemic and George Floyd? And it also begs the question, like, really, part of the reason that they launched New Rav when they did was to make people feel better? I don't know. That's clearly, to me, something that was said by Cassidy and Jessica, that the article is, like, just kind of paraphrasing here. But the reason I find it so interesting that it is introducing the idea of the New Rav by giving this context of the pandemic, the George Floyd killing, and the subsequent Black Lives Matter protest is because later on in the article, Jessica basically blames the stress of world events on why people reacted the way they did to New Rav. Sorry, I'm finding the quote. Oh, wrong direction. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to just read this. And here we go. Jessica interjected, because at this point I skipped through some paragraphs. Cassidy had been on the phone with the reporter, and then Jessica interjected. So the really hard thing is that migraines and seizures are caused by so many different things. And this is absolutely true. One of the really difficult things about websites and accessibilities that I have learned following this whole Ravelry storyline is it's really complex why migraines and seizures can be triggered for any one person, because all of our brains process information in certain ways. So there can be something that for one person who has vestibular issues might work really well for them, and the person next to them could trigger a problem. So it is difficult. This is a complex issue, and there is not a one-size-fits-all solution, 100%. 100%. I think, though, as an aside, the issue you always have to consider is the fact that you have to first believe that there is a problem, and you have to believe that when people say, here's this specific thing, and that it's triggering this, you believe that person. And what's really clear in the New Yorker article is that Cassidy and Jessica do not believe that New Rav is actually the issue. This is what Jessica has to say. A Ravelry user who is a neurologist told her that stress is usually a key factor. And, quote, and especially in the time of extreme uncertainty, like the pandemic, like the protests, we made some mistakes putting out a redesign in the midst of a pandemic when people were already on edge. Jessica continued, and because people are so passionate about Ravelry, I think that intensity switched over. You know what I mean? That level of intensity of love and passion for the site and feeling like they were part of it, they felt betrayed, which I totally get. So let's break down what Jessica is claiming here. Jessica is claiming basically that because of everything that was going on in the world, people were very anxious at the time it was true. That then the Ravelry, a site people are so passionate about, launches a redesign that people aren't prepared for, and just the stress of that, the stress of a new color scheme, the stress of a new look, the stress of that triggered these neurological conditions. If that sounds outlandish to you, and I use that word for a reason, if that sounds outlandish to you, it's probably because that is outlandish and that is silly. And I use that word for a reason as well. I mean, it's just, come on, Mr. Me. So my migraine was caused by the pandemic? Indirectly, yes. And this is the thing. And again, this is where I think the New Yorker article was really irresponsible, because they're taking Jessica's quote, her talking to a neurologist who has not examined anybody who has reported that they've had a migraine or vertigo or any other adverse effect from New Rav. That neurologist hasn't examined them. We don't know what that neurologist expertise is. And Jessica's sitting there throwing out, well, this is the real reason it happened. It's not our design. It's just all this, all this, all this. It's absurd. On some level, it's absurd that the New Yorker wouldn't dig deeper on that. And it really goes back to something else to me with the New Yorker article, which was, I understand why they probably felt the need to address the Ravelry accessibility situation in the article, but on some level, if that's only as far as they were willing to go with it, they shouldn't have bothered. They should have just stuck to the headline, because they've done a huge disservice to people by not digging deeper in on the story. In my personal opinion, and this is all my opinion, Mr. Me, honestly, even if the new design didn't hurt my eyes, thinking a website update was going to take the sting out of 2020 is pretty naive. I totally agree. And honestly, I think that's BS. That's my personal opinion. Look, we know from Ravelry's various blog posts, once they launched New Rav, that they had been planning this redesign for quite a while, for at least a year. So this was on their docket no matter what. The idea that they were going to release this as some, like, happy thing for people, like, no. They would have released New Rav regardless of the pandemic. They would have released New Rav regardless of BLM. And they would have released it at the time that they released it, regardless of world events. So that's silly. That's silly. Evie, I feel like using George Floyd as a scapegoat the way the article did was so gross. Totally agree. So agree that using George Floyd, using the BLM protest was really gross as a way to justify the debacle that is the New Rav rollout, in my opinion. And I think it is a debacle, because over the past year, Facebook, they released a new design for Facebook. I don't like it, but it is what it is, and I live with it. Hasn't triggered any nausea, but that's me, just me. I don't know about other people. But here's the thing, when Facebook launched their redesign, it was a slow rollout. They took chunks of people at a time and switched it over for them. You always had the option of switching back if you wanted for a time until the transition was complete. They told you it was coming. They warned you it was about to happen. They gave plenty of notice. And that is generally how redesigns of professional social media websites are done. Same thing with Twitter. When Twitter released their redesigns recently, they didn't just wake up one morning, the whole world had changed. And look, I get it. Now I'm sounding very dramatic and oh, see, that whole world could change. But your user interface with social media can be sudden and dramatic. That doesn't mean it's stressful. There's a difference. It doesn't mean that's necessarily stressful. But something else, though, about this I think is really important to understand, though, is that the article really makes clear that on some level, and I'm going to read you a couple of quotes, and I'll bring them up on screen as well. I just got to get to them. On some level, I don't want to say that Ravelry didn't take the reports of migraines and vertigo seriously. I think they took them seriously, but taking something seriously and believing what people are telling you are not the same thing. I'm not going to bring it up. I just can't find it fast enough. And what Cassidy says is, and I'm summarizing here, but she says in the article that when the report said, it's well, we had to take it seriously, even if it seemed outlandish. okay. I mean, I agree that when I first heard about the reports, I was like, what? Like, really? That can happen? And it seemed fantastical, but I believed what people said, right? But the fantastical aspect of it was just the idea, like, wait, I had no idea a website could do this, you know? That beyond just having like what we all think of as triggers for like epileptic seizures, we're all aware of like bright flashing lights can cause an epileptic seizure. We didn't realize that things that are more subtle to us who don't have a neurological condition that can be triggered by some of the things that may be going on with New Rav, maybe, allegedly, CYA. Those things can exist, but they can, as it turns out. The difference though is I actually believe it. I believed what people were telling me, even though it was like amazing to me. I still believed it. So yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's not like New Rav did nothing. It's not like Ravelry did nothing to make adjustments to the website. I don't want to like be unfair. They did turn off the animations on the login screen and made it so you could turn it on and off. Great. It does, though, that to me encapsulates something really important to understand about New Rav, which is that those animations never should have been turned on in the first place, as it turns out. That if you are aware of things around accessibility and websites, you would know that those animations shouldn't have been there to begin with. Why didn't they know that? Well, they don't know that because no one who works at Ravelry is an expert in website accessibility. That's why. And they clearly didn't consult with anybody on website accessibility. Now, then the question comes up, okay, they did a beta test. Did any of this come up during the beta test? And here's the thing that's interesting about that. In terms of beta testing New Rav, they did show New Rav to some people. It's a little fuzzy to me how many people, but it was shown to people. When New Rav launched, within a couple of days, people were reporting that they were having migraines, that they were experiencing vertigo, nausea, that they were experiencing eye strain, and yes, there were reports of seizures. And I can't show you the screenshots of all of this because it's all in New Rav and I don't want to cause any problems, but I do have the screenshots for all of this. Initially, Cassidy said, or people at Ravelry said, that in the beta test, no one reported having these problems. Well, that turns out that might not be the case. There are at least 2 posts from different people that I have found on Ravelry saying they were beta testers and that they reported that they were experiencing migraines from New Rav and that they told Ravelry this during the 6-week beta testing. I use the term loosely. The one person says that they are graphic designers and pointed out to specific elements like the drop shadows that were causing this. Now, later on, I did find a post where Cassidy said, it's reported that Cassidy came back and said that they went back to look at the feedback and they did find one report of an issue. So we go from, well, there were no reports during beta test of any problems to one report of a problem, right? And I have found at least 3 reports. One, I'll show you this one because this one is from Twitter. I just got to find it real quick. Not that one, not that one. Where are you? I had all this set up in the original live stream to go, and now it's like, oh, did I not? Okay, let me see if I can open it. Oh, this one. Nope, not that one. Sorry. Where are you? I did. This one? Oh, here it is. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So this wasn't a migraine that was experienced. This was eye strain. And, oops, wrong one. Sorry. Oh, shoot, that's old. Sorry. I'm trying to get to it. Let me click through every single, there we go. That's not the right one. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Sorry. I'm trying to get, oh, come on. Did it, no. This one. Is it up? Nope, still the wrong one. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to read it to you. This is from Twitter. For some reason, it's not coming up. Same. This was somebody on Twitter. They were responding to another person. I don't want to give their name because I didn't ask their permission to read it during the live stream, but they said, same. I beta tested New Rav and told them it was hard on my eyes before I ever talked to a single other person. So that person says that they were a beta tester and reported eye strain. And there's 2 people that I have found in the Ravelry boards. One reported that they experienced migraines. Another one experienced headache, and they say both of them say they were beta testers and they told Ravelry about it during the testing. I mean, what do you do with that? I mean, and then you get, but yeah. So Evie, they want to be grassroots community built like it's endearing to be less than professional, but then also tout their millions of users. Absolutely. That is absolutely something that goes on with New Rav. They act like they're, I have a whole thing about this with Ravelry. I wrote a whole blog post about this. The thing about them is that Ravelry has a staff, a paid staff of 5 people. It's really 4 people though, because Jessica has stepped way back from Ravelry. According to her, in the New Yorker article, it says that she's now part-time with Ravelry as she focuses more on raising her and Cassidy's kids, which I totally respect that. But basically, you have 4 full-time people working at Ravelry. One of them is basically a paid moderator. That's basically her job, is to run the social, is to oversee the board. So she's not a programmer, she's not a coder. Mary, oh, I'm blinking, Mary Heather? She is kind of an overall director, it seems like. She does a lot of the communications. I don't know her total background, but Livia is a designer and Cassidy is the programmer. And that's it. That's it. That to me has always seemed absurd, and to me that is the root of everything that has gone on, because they don't have a project manager to handle the various aspects of what it takes to run a large website. They don't have a UX expert, a user experience, user interface expert, which explains to me a lot of why Ravelry, classic Rav, but still even new Rav, is clunky as hell. I'm sorry, in my personal opinion, it's clunky as hell. I think New Rav, the navigability, is that a word, of it is improved. I still think it's clunky. I'm sorry, I do. I don't apologize for that, even though I just did. But it's just very clear from the New Yorker article that this is what Cassidy said in the end, the 2 famous quotes. And then I might put a pin in the New Yorker article. She says that if there was something to fix, we would fix it. So clearly the people at the people at Ravelry, they don't believe anything needs to be fixed. Maybe they thought, okay, there's some things we can tweak with New Rav, but we're done. They definitely don't think there's anything to fix now. Maybe they thought there was something to fix early on. That's a little fuzzy, okay? But I think that we know that they don't believe that Ravelry has triggered these things. And how do we know this? Well, we know this from Cassidy's own letters. Let's see if... Nope, still not the right one. Okay. And I'm not going to try to switch it. If you recall, Cassidy sent some emails to people through the Ravelry system. And the famous one, and I'm going to just read it to you. I just got to get to it. I'll read it. I can't bring it up on screen. I don't have it all set up correctly. But it says, "Hi, Lindsay." This is the person Cassidy wrote this to. "Ravelry's updated design does not cause seizures, migraines, or other medical issues. The Epilepsy Foundation did not find any problems with Ravelry." That's a very interesting sentence because the Epilepsy Foundation still has a warning up about users using Ravelry. But anyway, angry users started a letter writing campaign, and the foundation published their warning without any verification or research, as appears to be their policy. "We have not found any experts, including medical doctors who specialize in this area, who have identified any problems with Ravelry." Well, how hard did you look? I don't know. "We have found zero evidence that there's anything about the new design that causes migraines or seizures." Based on what? I would like people to consider their sources before spreading false information. How much Ravelry believed that new Rav might be triggering migraines and other harms to people is unclear to me. It's certainly clear, though, that it was not long before they decided that they were not the problem. It was stress. It was just world stress. So that was the New Yorker article, and it dredged all this back up. And then the next thing, I think that's kind of all I wanted to say about the New Yorker article, or I have to say at this point. Why were the users angry, though? Well, yeah, why were the users angry? Users are angry because the site was triggering neurological, or they believed at least that the site is triggering neurological problems. This gets into something that I think is important to understand about New Rav and the controversies around it. And this is not in the article, so take this for speculation. But one thing that's really interesting to me is the fact that the New Yorker article brought in these issues around accessibility when clearly the focus of the article was about politics. And the two have nothing to do with each other, right? New Rav would have done what New Rav does, regardless of whatever happened in 2019. And Ravelry would have done in 2019, regardless of any plans they had for the redesign. They're not connected. But in a way they are connected, and here's how. I think there are a lot of people who feel the need to defend Ravelry over New Rav because of 2019. They support what Ravelry did in 2019. They are against the people who, MAGA people. And when New Rav happened, there were a number of MAGA people, or MAGA adjacent, you might say, who took the New Rav controversy and tried to hijack it to say, "See, we told you Ravelry is terrible. We told you all. See, you're a victim just like us." Even though, no, we don't have common cause. Not sorry. We don't have common cause. And I think, though, there are people who look at the Ravelry accessibility issue as a proxy battle over 2019. And that people who are in the Ravelry accessibility camp, if you will, therefore are kind of wittingly or unwittingly helping people who feel like people who feel that Ravelry abused them in 2019. And you do see this. You see this amongst Ravelry defenders who will use those issues in 2019 as a way of trying to diminish and discredit the reports of Ravelry causing harm to people. And so there is a weird link between it, even though the two things have nothing to do with one another. Because Ravelry, in my opinion, this is my opinion, Ravelry did the right thing in 2019. Ravelry did the right thing in 2019, in my opinion. People are going to disagree with me on that. That's fine. People are allowed to disagree. That doesn't mean that Ravelry then is always right or always good, and therefore everything they do is okay. Because it's not. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't. So, Anyway, it's complicated. It's complicated. But there's something else that happened that I wanted to get to in terms of this week. So this New Yorker article comes out, and then we get to the rise of DarkRav. Ravelry released a dark mode, and I put this in air quotes because people who are far more knowledgeable than me have said that it's not a true dark mode. I'm not going to show it to you because A, people are still having issues with New Rav. They're reporting they're still having problems with New Rav, and I don't want to bring those things up that could possibly trigger a problem. But I went and I looked at DarkRav. Let me tell you something. New Rav, the original New Rav, which they call Merino, I don't really have a lot of problems with. Sometimes my eyes get a little tired. Mostly, though, it's fine for me. When Herdwick came out, I felt a little nausea. And I don't use Herdwick. Even though there's things with Herdwick I prefer, like no drop shadows. Like, I don't know why Ravelry is so freaking married to those drop shadows. But anyway, I digress. Then I looked at DarkRav. And that is the first one that I looked at where I went, I feel physical pain. DarkRav, to me, is physically painful. Now, I'm sure some people would call that stress or psychosomatic. But I did extensive. Look, I looked at it during different parts of the day, different levels of eating food, and my experience at looking at DarkRav was, and that's what I'm calling it, the dark mode, was that the text vibrates. It's very vibraty. It's hard to read. And one page in particular made my head want to explode, and not just because of the poor aesthetics, because physically it made me ill. And that was the debut patterns page. Ravelry a few months ago launched this debut patterns page, which features designers' first new pattern that they've released. And this is an aesthetic. This is strictly an aesthetic critique. The design of that page has this giant yellow flower in the upper right-hand corner. Not my taste. But that's an aesthetic complaint. That's an aesthetic complaint. But in the dark mode, the background is not black. The background is a deep, deep, dark blue-gray. And in fact, I have something that shows... This is my daughter's pajamas, but this actually has the colors in it that is the dark mode. So I can actually show it to you. Let me get this one. Nope, not that one. This one. So the mermaid hair here, let me see if I can bring my camera down closer. There you go. This dark blue mermaid's hair in this is really close, I believe, to what the background color is in the dark mode. Then it has the links are in a brighter blue, and the blue in the flower here and in these mermaid tails, this isn't exactly point on, but it's close. It's close to what the blue looks like. In fact, now that I think about it, it's the blue in the links in the dark mode are actually a little more saturated. Or they're more saturated and they're a little bit more periwinkle than this. But this is close to what the contrast looks like, is here. But then the text, okay, the text is white, but according to Ravelry, it has an 80% opacity. Another way to look at that is a 20% transparency, which means the text is white, but some of this blue-gray, dark blue-gray is coming through, so the text is a little bit more gray looking. And, but imagine, if you will, a bright yellow against this dark blue. It was harsh. It's harsh. It's harsh. It's harsh. Can I say harsh again? It was harsh. It actually like shot a bolt of pain right through the middle of my forehead when I looked at it. And then to make matters worse, the text, the header text, bleeds over into the yellow. So you have this gray text that starts on this dark, almost black, bluish gray background color, and then the last few letters bleed into the yellow and are really hard to read because of the transparency. And on the mobile, because I looked at it on my mobile device, on the mobile, even more lettering goes across from the blue into the yellow. That's not good. I will say, speaking of mobile, that I found the dark mode did not bother me on my mobile device the way that it bothered me on my desktop. And this is a continuing theme, I feel like, with New Rav and everything they've done, which is, they said it in the article, part of the reason they redesigned New Rav the way they did was to help with mobile device, and I think a lot of the choices that they made had to do with making it better on mobile devices without actually having a mobile version of the site. Got a couple comments. Let's see, Miranda, I'm sure some people would call that stress. I think I love you right now. I love you too. Mr. Me, thanks for not putting it up. I am curious, but I also really don't want to be in pain right now. Nobody does. Nobody. Mr. Me, blue? They chose blue? So they really don't understand the point of dark mode. No, they don't. They don't. And Jillian, yes, it's all shades of blue. Blue light is a migraine trigger. Actual dark modes are grayscale. Exactly. And this goes something else I feel like they keep doing with New Rav, right? Is that they want to do something that is what modern websites do. Look, Twitter, Facebook, all these social medias, they have a dark mode now. Now, I'll get into that in a second. They all have these dark modes. So Ravelry wants to have a dark mode. People ask Ravelry for a dark mode. There are people, I like dark modes. I love dark mode on Twitter. I don't use dark mode on Facebook, but anyway. But they don't want to just do a dark mode like, sorry, knocking my microphone. They don't want to do a dark mode like everyone else does. They want to do their own version of it, their own twist of it. And so they come up with these color schemes. Here's something you have to understand about dark mode, though, generally. Yes, some people find it easier on the eyes. Other people don't. People with astigmatism are known to struggle with dark modes. Well, that's okay, as long as there's an alternative, right? Okay. People use the skin that works best for them. That's okay. My issue, though, is I feel like Ravelry has released this dark mode, and some people are thinking, see, they released a dark mode. Gotta keep my hands out of the text that's coming up on screen. They released a dark mode. They're doing things to help with accessibility. What more do you want from them? My issue with that is I don't personally believe, this is my opinion, I don't believe that Ravelry released the dark mode as a way to address accessibility issues. I don't. The reason I don't is, one, Ravelry said after they released Herdwick that yes, we'll probably come up with some other skins, probably dark mode, but we're done. We've solved the problem. We've addressed the accessibility issues. We're ending Classic Rav March 31st, and we're done. Dark mode, I don't know how long they were developing that for, but I don't believe dark mode was being developed as a way to address some of their accessibility issues because, as Cassidy said in the article in New Yorker, which was released before dark mode, if there was something to fix, we would fix it. They don't believe there's anything left to fix, if there ever was anything left to fix. It's stress. It's stress that's causing the migraines in the sea. If you believe that it's stress from world events triggering people to have migraines and vertigo, you're not releasing dark mode to address accessibility issues. Even Herdwick, let's be honest, Herdwick. They released Herdwick. I give them full credit for releasing something. But let's be honest, that was to placate people. And the research they put into releasing Herdwick was, in my unexpert opinion, inadequate. I have a whole blog post on what that experience was like, if you want to read it. Because Ravelry did this whole Google survey asking people, which one of these various shades of button colors, background colors, various things, line heights, do you prefer? It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. Okay, that's dramatic. That's really dramatic on my part. It wasn't one of the most painful experiences of my life, but it was unpleasant. Let's put it that way. It was an unpleasant experience. As someone who generally doesn't suffer from visual problems or vestibular disorders or migraines, I sometimes have issues with motion sickness, but I once well, twice over 3 or 4 days, experienced vertigo, but now that was one of the most painful experiences of my life. Evie, another accessibility component they keep missing the mark on, oh, sorry, I'm reading tiny text, is the language of it. So if someone shows up to know what to expect with different modes because they are uniform, but we get sheep, right? Absolutely. They love this cutesy stuff. They name their modes after sheep, Herdwick, which is a lower contrast, I guess you would say, mode of looking at Ravelry. And Merino is the original new Rav. And then they have dark mode. Is it Baldwin that they're calling it? It's named after some sheep. But so yeah, it's just dark mode was not released to address accessibility. It wasn't. Dark mode was released because people like to have a dark mode option. That's why. That's fine too. It's okay to release something because users ask for it and you want to please your users. That's fine. But when people sit there and then come back and say, what more do you want from Ravelry? They did this thing to address accessibility. It's like, no, they didn't do a thing to address. That's not what dark mode was. Herdwick was something to sort of address accessibility. Whether it's successful or not is another question. But you can at least say, whatever their motivation was, whether they did it well or not, at least they tried. That's not what dark mode is. So let's, because that's the other thing. Another tactic Ravelry defenders are trying with this whole situation is going, what more do you want from them? You're never going to be satisfied. What more do you want? And in some ways there's truth. I think there's a lot of people that even if Ravelry released a design that did not trigger people by and large, and people by and large felt safe, they would still not be satisfied with Ravelry. But that has to do with Ravelry. Because Ravelry broke trust. Ravelry, at the end of the day, broke trust. Ravelry released a design where, according to some, they did during beta test report these problems. Ravelry, when the reports started coming out, continually shut down conversations about it. There are reports on Facebook that they filter out comments around disability and accessibility. They try to control the narrative and not have people talk about it on spaces that they control. They broke trust when Cassidy sent out a tweet accusing somebody of lying about them when she wasn't. They broke trust when Cassidy sent out those emails. Something that's really important to understand about those emails, by the way, is Jessica, after Cassidy sent out those emails, sorry, I'm moving my keyboard over. After Cassidy sent those emails out saying, we're not causing these migraines, Jessica had her famous blog post. And in it, she said, we want to assure everybody that what Cassidy said is not the general view of Ravelry. First of all, let's just start with, that's kind of hard considering there are 4 full-time people at Ravelry. And Cassidy is a quarter of them. But also, then the New Yorker article comes out, and Jessica's blaming stress of world events. So it does seem like, no, actually Cassidy was expressing the general point of view of Ravelry, which is that there's nothing left to fix. There's no problem. It's been gaslighting. Those are the actions Ravelry has done around all of this. Ravelry has broken trust. Nobody, especially someone who has suffered from 6 months of a migraine and has basically had to stop their knit pattern design career over it, is obligated to give Ravelry the benefit of the doubt at this point. No one. Because Ravelry broke trust. Ravelry, and it comes back to the same thing over and over again with Ravelry. And Evie put it really well. They want to believe that they're this community, grassroots, effort and not a business. And so they don't run it like a business. And so they don't have the staffing that they need. They, as far as we know, still don't have a web accessibility expert. You know? They still don't. All this many months later. But why would they spend resources on that if they don't believe they're actually triggering these problems? You know? So, yeah. Mr. Me, good point, Evie. Are herdwick sheep lower contrast? Miranda Pratt. The things they said to the New Yorker are also a bunch of breach of trust. Absolutely. Saying we're silly and making outrageous claims in an internationally publication. Absolutely, Miranda. Because that's the thing. The last quote from, and this gets to a point I did want to make about the New Yorker article. The last quote from Cassidy in the New Yorker article, and I'm going to summarize it, is that, you know, basically, in light of everything going on in the world, this is all pretty silly. Well, you know, to Tanya Richter, who's had 6 months of a migraine, who's a knit designer who has publicly said on Twitter that she is going to have to step away from that as her career. This isn't silly. There are a lot of designers out there, even designers who haven't had migraines or headaches or anything, whose businesses are under strain because of what's gone on with Ravelry, as they have rushed to try to set up sales platforms on Etsy or PayHip and Lovecrafts, and the time and the effort that it's taken, sometimes with very little return on investment, that has impacted their business. That's not silly. Being an independent designer, it's not a quick, it's not a money grab. Most don't actually make a living at it. The economics are hard as an independent designer. And you throw that on top of it, Ravelry made it harder for them. That's not silly. And I think that's the thing is, I feel like the owners and the powers that be at Ravelry, this is my opinion, but I feel like they are in their own little bubble of fandoms and fans cheering them on, and they don't have to look outside of that and see the real world impact that some of this is having. Or they don't want to. But regardless, it still is the same thing, and all of that has broken trust. So, Evie, herdwick sheep are naturally gray colored, but who knows that? I do, because I'm a super nerdy spinner, but it's not commonly known even in the niche. Yeah. Evie, I had planned to start designing and publishing patterns for hand spun, and I chose to pivot that plan because of all of this mess. Yeah. You know, it's been hard. And look, let's be honest, somebody could look at me and say, hey, you benefited, which, you know, I haven't really. I got some views because of some videos that I've done, but, like, trust me, I would rather never have to talk about this. I want Ravelry to succeed. Ravelry has been incredibly important in the fiber community. It has brought knitters and crocheters together. It has provided an affordable place for independent designers to sell their work. There has been an explosion of amazing work among knit designers that has been really thanks to Ravelry existing and creating a viable business plan for people to sell their designs. It has been a great resource for knitters and crocheters. It's not one I necessarily used a whole lot, but it has been that resource. I don't want Ravelry to fail. I appreciate that Ravelry has been vocal in supporting, you know, BIPOC and LGBTQ and those issues. I respect that. I don't want Ravelry to fail. Nobody wants Ravelry to fail. Well, okay. The 2019 people who got kicked off of Ravelry or chose to leave Ravelry because of MAGA, they want Ravelry to fail. But most people don't want Ravelry to fail. You know? And it's just sad. The whole situation is sad. A lot happened this week, and I felt like I needed to talk about it and get it all off my chest. Hopefully it made sense, because I didn't like script any of this. I mean, I kind of scripted it in my head a little bit, but I'll admit the technical stuff early on kind of threw me off my game. But I think I've said everything I kind of I want to say about the situation at this point. I will continue when appropriate to talk about it, mostly on Twitter. If some particular news comes up, I will, talk about it during live stream. But yeah, I don't see something changing with Ravelry unless there's a large enough economic impact on Ravelry to force them into a change. And right now, it doesn't seem like they're hurting enough to take any of this seriously. And they have things like the New Yorker article to help push out their narrative on this. But for what I would hope is, if you are not affected by New Rav, if New Rav hasn't harmed you personally, I hope you listen to people who have reported harms, and take it seriously and not diminish it for whatever reason, because I've seen it. I've seen people diminish this issue on Twitter, and that's not okay. And I think they've tried to diminish it as a way of protecting Ravelry. And, that's not okay. Let's not diminish this. Multiple things can be true at once. Ravelry can do the right thing in 2019 and do the wrong thing in 2020. And yeah. Heavy spiral. Yeah, right? Evie, LOL to Mago wants to cancel Ravelry. Heavy eye roll. Yeah, exactly. Look. I mean, I've had people on my videos make comments about that situation, and my thing is always like, I am not the space to have that debate. For me, it's not a discussion to be had. We're not going to agree on it. That's okay. We have different perspectives for reasons, and that's not something I'm going to moderate in my space. So, it's one of the reasons I have never wanted to do a deep dive on Ravelry as a whole, is because I just don't want to open up that conversation. And every time I feel like I have to, even talking about New Rav, I feel like I always have to give the disclaimer that I support what Ravelry did in 2019. I support it. I stand by it. I will defend Ravelry on those grounds. I will. But I'm not going to defend Ravelry on 2020 grounds and what has happened in terms of accessibility. Because even if they're right and New Rav did not cause these problems, even if they're correct, the way in which they handled it still was not right. Because they gaslit, they've shut down conversation, they have made people seem like they're hysterics, That ain't right. It's not right. It's not right, in my opinion. Okay, so let's do something fun. I told you we were going to go late. Let's do something fun, and let's do some pattern spotlight. Mr. Me. But first, let's make sure I get the comment. People are so quick to take sides. You can like people and disagree with them sometimes, or dislike people and agree with them sometimes. Absolutely. And I think the internet is very susceptible to that, where you feel like things are black and white, and you have to pick your side, and then once you're on that side, you have to defend that side no matter what. And the internet's not great, especially Twitter. I'm very involved on Twitter. Twitter's not a great place for nuance. Internet's not necessarily a great place for nuance. But maybe it's not about teams. Maybe this isn't about teams that you're on. Maybe this is just about addressing an issue and reducing harm. And I don't want to speculate in terms of everything, in terms of why the powers that be at Ravelry has responded all the ways that they have. I think it's very clear that Cassidy takes all of this very personally. And I don't want to take anything away from Cassidy in terms of being a coder and a programmer. I think the work that she did to get Ravelry built in the first place, largely on her own. Yes, there was a lot of free labor that was volunteered, and Ravelry has definitely relied on free labor over the years to make their business model work. But still, huge achievement to get Ravelry built in the first place. I think, though, that Ravelry has grown beyond her initial skill set, and I don't think that they have, as a company, grown in a sustainable way to keep this going. I seriously question how long Ravelry is going to be able to keep this up with just 4 full-time people, because it just doesn't seem feasible. It just doesn't. Evie, same, because these are separate issues and nuance. Yeah, they are. They're separate issues. And, you know, look, there's a lot I could say. I'm not going to, though. I'm done with Ravelry myself. Other people want to keep talking about it. Great. If there's something I want to respond to, I will. But I'm going to move on to Pattern Spotlight because we're an hour into this. And thank you so much for sticking around for this conversation. And I hope I'm doing it justice, because that's important to me. I just need to get to my right. I had all this set up before the major technological fail. Oh my God. You know, I've always had near perfect vision, and I'm getting to the point where I think I'm going to need readers soon. Or my eyes are just really tired. That happens. Sometimes your eyes are just tired. By the way, I hope that the live stream quality overall is much better. I hope the audio and the video, now that it's like actually working, is going really well. Because like, it has been killing me. I've always enjoyed doing live stream, but the quality of my live streams, because of what I was using to make it happen, was killing me. And I'm so grateful. By the way, just so you know, quick thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, but down in the description box are affiliate links. These affiliate links help support my channel. If you click on an affiliate link and do a little shopping, make a purchase, I might receive a small commission for qualifying purchases. So win-win, because you buy something you are planning to buy, I get a little, like usually like 1% commission on it, and that helps support my channel. And thanks to people utilizing affiliate links and leaving me tips on Buy Me a Coffee, link for that down below as well, I was able to get a new camera. I was able to get a new web camera so I could improve the live stream. And so thank you for supporting my channel in this way. And also, by the way, speaking of affiliates, and I feel like a big schmuck even bringing this up, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am an Amazon affiliate right now. However, I need like 2 or 3 more purchases in order to stay an Amazon affiliate. So if you are planning to buy anything on Amazon and you click on my Amazon affiliate link, any of them, and you make a qualifying purchase, that would help me out. Don't buy something just to buy something, though. Only if you were going to, like, yeah, I was going to get on Amazon and get that thing. But thank you. And yes, I feel like a schmuck saying that. Okay, but thank you. Thank you for bearing with me as I shill. Because, you know, I gotta fund the mission, as Evie says. And the mission is to spread the joy of crafting and knitting. All right. So, get here, and we are here at the beginning of... Oh, no, wrong one. Nope, not that one. Oh, I know what I need to do. Okay, sorry. Unfortunately, I gotta do this live. I need this, but I gotta turn on my Safari and turn off. There we go. All right. Desktop share. So, there are a number of new patterns. There's about 3 that came out this week, and 2 or 3 the previous week. So we got about 5 patterns to look through. This first one's actually not a new pattern. It's an updated release from A Bee in the Bonnet, one of my favorite designers, Lauren Rad. And this is her Pebbles by the Sea hat. It's being re-released. It was re-released on March 26th, and it has an expanded sizing. an low vision. LVA is low vision, accessible version, clear photos, and better instructions. And it's a really lovely hat, and it is really, click that over while that Etsy page loads. And it's very much in line with all of Lauren's work, which I love, which is that it really combines texture, stitches with lacy details that give this very cozy yet light, effervescent look to it. I love her work. I love the way she does that. It amazes me every time I see a new example of it. And yeah, this is the hat. You can see these textured stitches. It looks like those are panels of seed stitches. So columns of seed stitches and then columns of kind of a lacy twisted stitch there. So really cool hat. Really lovely. And this is a re-release, so very exciting there. Next, sorry, I'm going to have to rush through this a little bit. Next from, oh, I hope I pronounced this correctly. I probably won't, but Ibenyi is her Lhasa shawl. And this, ladies and gentlemen, and people of all ages, this is a Tunisian crochet lace project, which I just think is so cool. If you're not familiar with Tunisian crochet is a crochet technique, and it is typically denser than either usual crochet or knitting is, but you can do lace with Tunisian crochet and have it look just as airy and light as knitting or crochet can look. So that's an up close of it. And, oh, it's just, excuse me, just so gorgeous. And this is also, if you've never tried Tunisian crochet before, this project can be worked with a standard crochet hook. Tunisian crochet, usually you need a special Tunisian crochet hook. I don't have one near me, but it's longer. Sometimes you see, I have interchangeable one, so it's a crochet hook that has like a interchangeable cable on with a stopper. But there are other ones, Tunisian crochet hooks that look like a knitting needle, but it has a crochet hook on the end. The only thing is, if you're going to utilize a normal crochet hook with a Tunisian crochet project, if that Tunisian crochet project lends itself to a usual crochet hook, I would recommend using a straight neck one and not a tapered neck crochet hook. That's the only caveat I would put with that. Really gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love shawls actually for springtime because at least where I live, it can get nippy at night and it's nice to have those layers. Okay. We're going to scroll down. Next is from Nitrospective, and this is the Paige Andra shawl. She has a very long backstory of the inspiration for this shawl. It comes from an historic piece. I'm not going to get into all the details, but here's the shawl. This is a triangular shawl, and it's a lacy, airy kind of feel to it. I'm going to click over to the Pay Hip store real quick. So we can see it better. Here it is. It's really, really lovely. Let's see the next picture. You can see the close up of this, and it's almost like it's a lacy pattern. Really pretty. Here it is in green. And yeah, that's that pattern. Okay, good. Oh, and then next, this was released actually 2 weeks ago. I forgot, I gotta update that. The sale's no longer happening. But this is from Liz Cork. If you know Liz Cork is one of my favorite designers, and this is a new cowl from her called the Lozan. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. Let's see. Lozan is a Scots word meaning diamond pattern. So this is really lovely. Nice. I'm gonna click on the website here. A really lovely green shawl. I love this color. I'm so suckered in. I don't want to say suckered in, but I'm so brought in by color. But this is a very nice lacy diamond motif pattern. If you're wanting to try your hand at knitting lace, I think this could be a good beginner's project. Let's look at this one. We can really see the pattern better. Here we go. You can see the pattern there better. So it's this nice diamond pattern, and it's just a little bit of lacy detail in it, but the movement of the stitches that are created with the increases and the decreases creates this diamond shape, and it's just so lovely. Love her work always, and I love that her work always has this really nice flowing geometric motifs to it, but it's never boring. I don't feel like her work is ever boring. And, oh man, I think, yeah. Okay, so those are all the new pattern releases that are on the Fiber Indie list. You can find those links by visiting my website, knitswhereit'sat.com. The Fiber Indie list is found, or I'm sorry, the Fiber Happenings is found on the main page of the Fiber Indie list. Links for all that, links for the webpage and all of that is down in the description box. I'm probably going to rearrange actually my webpage a little bit and make Fiber Happenings its own page instead of it being under the Fiber Indie list banner. But yeah, so that is Pattern Spotlight for this week. I hope I didn't rush through it too much, but I know got a late start from all the technical problems. This live stream is running later than I normally run. Not really. What am I talking about? I always run a little late. I almost never stick to an hour. But yeah. So, what's going on with me the coming weeks with the channel? I will have a new video up sometime next week. Could be Wednesday, might wait till Friday, haven't decided yet. It's going to be a video on left-leaning decreases. I was hoping I'd actually get it out sometime this weekend, but due to some technical problems, I ended up reshooting the overhead shots of it. So I still need to do some more editing on that, and frankly, my editing is going a little more slowly than it used to because I am now working full-time. In addition to, you know, everything else I do, being human. So, but yes, I will have a new uploaded video sometime this week. If you want to keep up to date on when that is coming out, the easiest and fastest way to do that is to subscribe and hit the notification bell for this channel, and then YouTube will alert you whenever I upload a new video or start a live stream. You can also follow me on social media. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can find all my social media down in the description box. Yes, got through that very quickly. Also down in the description box, again, you will find affiliate links that help support my channel, and if you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can leave me a tip as well. And those are always greatly appreciated, and any commissions I earn from affiliate links, any tips, get reinvested back into the channel so I can keep improving what I'm doing, growing this community, and everything. So, let's see. And I want to give a big thank you to everybody following me through the various live streams I tried to start today and bearing with all of the technical problems. I hope that your diligence was worth it. But I think, oh, and before I forget, please make sure whether you're watching this live or on the replay to give this a thumbs up. So I do believe that is everything for today. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Oh, I know what I forgot. Next live stream, I don't know. I'm going to guess. I think the way things are going to start working out right now, it's the way things have been working out so far, is I'm going to have live streams every other week now. So that I have time to shoot video uploads. Yeah. Oh, and I know the last thing I need to say. Oh my god, this is so exciting. I have now over 950 subscribers. Last I checked, it was at 955. So I am like technically 45, but I'm gonna say 50 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. So Oh, I'm so close. And thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting me through this time. I appreciate you so much. I really do. You showing up to live streams, commenting on my videos motivates me to keep this channel alive. I hope that I'm providing something that is, like, you know, valuable to the Fiberverse. That's my goal. That's one of my goals anyway. So that really is it. So I'm really going to say goodbye this time. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. I hope to see you on social media or down in comments on videos. And yeah, I think that's everything. So, as always, happy health and happy crafting. Bye.